You're in the trenches once again with Dave Lapham, courtesy of First Star Logistics. What a studio we have here. I'm going to talk about something right now that drives a lot of coaches crazy. Some coaches don't mind it as much, but a lot of coaches have no use for training camp fights. And New York Giants, I mean, it was a brawl. It was an all-out brawl. The benches, the sidelines emptied. I mean, and then they get put on the goal line like kids and running sprints, 100-yard dashes, 100-yard sprints, as punishment. Oh, it was almost stunning to see that at the professional football level. But training camp fights are almost unavoidable because you get into the middle of camp, the dog days of training camp. It's in low to mid 90s, 100% humidity. So, and you're in hand-to-hand combat, full equipment, sweating like crazy, nowhere for the sweat to evaporate. I mean, you're just soaking wet and you're feeling a little nasty, and then somebody does something to you that you don't like. Maybe gives you a push after the whistle or gives you a little shot in the gut after the whistle, whatever the case may be. And now it's a full-blown Donnybrook. And a lot of times it ends up being just a one-on-one and everybody, immediately tries to break it up instead of piling on. It was an exception to see what happened with the New York Giants. That one's got me scratching my head a little bit. But I remember a training camp fight that I learned a valuable lesson from Jim LeClaire and Bruce Coslet. And they were both pretty salty individuals, tough guys, and they weren't going to give an inch to each other. And they were working against each other in drills quite a bit, tight ends and linebackers. So Bruce Coslet was locked up with Jim LeClaire in a running play, and the play ended, and Jim probably thought that Bruce was holding him, which defensive players think that offensive players do every single snap. If you block a defensive player, that was impossible. You can't block me. You had to have held me, and so they square off and they start to fight. And Jim LeClaire takes swings at Bruce Coslet's head. Oh, there's a helmet on it. Breaks his hand, breaks his wrist. Jim LeClaire is in a cast up to his elbow the entire season. It affected him the entire season. So taught me a lot. It's like, boy, there can be some serious repercussions. You got to be smart. And you'll see guys immediately try to pull a guy's helmet off. That's the first thing. They grab the face mask. They want to get the helmet off. If they can get the helmet off, they know they can try to land some punches. But, when you're padded up, they'll give a lot of gut shots, very rarely head shots. But this is 1974. This was back in the day. And Jim LeClaire totally lost his cool and started punching what he thought was Bruce Coslet's head. It was a helmeted head, and he paid the price. Sometimes it's not too smart to fight on a football field. Lessons learned. Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.